Alright, so today I wanted to make a video and basically do a deeper dive into long range slash target shooting calibers. And I kind of wanted to come up with a chart to come up with basically the most efficient, the best ones. Um, and the first thing I would bring up, actually, there's two important things I would bring up off the start. Number one, um, everybody's criteria is going to be a little bit different, and I'll get into that. Number two, if you see a caliber you like in here, I'm not saying you can't use it. I'm not saying it completely sucks. These are just when you're looking into these long range shooting circles, these are the ones, and target shooting as well. These are the ones you're going to see the most for reasons that I'll get into. So that's the first thing too, is that if you have one that you like that isn't in here, bring it up, make the case for why you think it should be in here, basically, because it's a little bit annoying to see people say, "Oh, what about this or what about that," but yet not even make a good point to why they think it's better than whatever, right? And the reason why I picked these calibers is very simple, in that these are the ones that are the most popular, right? For various reasons, and I'll get into that as I go. So basically, I have the 223, the 224 Valkyrie, the 6mm Creedmoor, the 6.5 Creedmoor, 6.5 PRC, 308, 300 Win Mag, 300 PRC, 300 Norma, 7mm Magnum, and the 338 Lapua. Obviously, like I say, there's other calibers you can use, but these are the most popular ones um, in doing my research. And when I look up other people, they almost invariably have a similar list to this. So I basically have five categories here. I think there's other ones that I could add as well, but these are probably the most important ones in my opinion. Ballistics, energy, and by ballistics, I'm simply basically saying how much bullet drop does the bullet have at 1,000 yards. Again, that may not be everybody's way of going about it, but that's basically when I say ballistics, that's what I mean by that. Um, and for all of these categories, I have a score, 10 being the highest, obviously 1 being the lowest. I don't think anyone scored a 1 on anything, but number 2, energy. Again, for some people that's not going to matter. For some people that is going to matter. For most people, honestly, it probably doesn't matter, because if you're just shooting targets or shooting steel, who cares how much power the bullet has left? Now, if you're hunting with it, or military, law enforcement, or maybe you just want a gun that has a lot of power. I know there's some people like that. Energy is one that I also put in there. Effective range, that's also another one that's going to be very important for people. Um, Ammo cost slash availability, that's one that I think is important. Not for everyone, but for most people, I would say. And then barrel life, that's another one that, depending on who, for some people, that's incredibly important. For other people, they could care less. So that's, again, all of these, for some people it may not matter to them. For other people it may be make or break whatever they're going to buy. And then I have a total at the end, basically just adding up all the numbers. So 223 on a ballist, 223 is going to be the worst for ballistics. Most 223 bullets aren't even going to be supersonic out to 1,000 yards. And the other thing I'll bring up too is how I came up with this list. Is I basically took the best factory load I could find, and that's what I used for these scoring. So if you look up some of these, I think it was a 75 grain bullet for the 223. It is supersonic out to around 1,000 yards, I believe. So 5 for ballistics, again, not very good. 2 for the energy, obviously it's gonna have the least energy of anything on the list. And for energy, I basically took the energy of a 338 Lapua and basically just divided the energy of all the other bullets into the energy of the 338 Lapua, being I think around 5,000 pounds or just under. So 2 on energy, 5 for the effective range, because again, the most effective range for any of these is about 2,000 yards, give or take about 100 or 200 yards, depending upon all the various factors that can change that stuff. The one place where 223 will shine is ammo cost slash availability, scoring a 10. Barrel life 7, again, total 29 points. 224 Valkyrie. 224 Valkyrie is pretty hard to find in Canada, but I know it is a little bit more popular in the States, mainly because I think they use them out of the AR platform guns. So 6 for a ballistics. It still doesn't have very good ballistics. It is better than a 223, but it's still not great. 3 for energy, 6 for effective range. I scored it a 4 for ammo cost slash availability because it is still relatively expensive and it is still pretty hard to find. Again, this number is one that's going to change depending on where you're at. But this is basically just doing my research on how hard is this stuff to find in Canada, basically. Um, Barrel life 7. Barrel life's one, but it's not going to change all that much because the best bullets out of all these calibers are going to be the heaviest ones usually, and those are the ones you're going to be shooting at the lowest velocity. So barrel life's not going to change that much, but it is going to change a little bit. 26 points total. It was the lowest scoring gun or caliber on the list. 6mm Creedmoors. This is where we start to get better. Um, it's got 9 for the ballistic. 6mm Creedmoor is very flat shooting. You look up the numbers on it, it is very flat shooting. 4 for the energy. Again, you are step. It is a little bit more than a 243 if you're looking comparable amount of energy. 7 for the effective range. I think it's about 1,400 yards. 5 for ammo cost slash availability. It is pretty hard to find in Canada. In store, I don't really even see it either. So, and then 7 for barrel life, scoring 32. 6.5 Creedmoor is where we really start to pick it up here. 8 for ballistics, 5 for energy, 8 for effective range, 8 for ammo cost slash availability, and 9 for barrel life, scoring 38 points. 6.5 PRC, it scores a perfect 10 for ballistics. It is very, very flat shooting. 6 for the energy. It has a comparable amount of energy to a 308 or 270. So the difference between a 6.5 PRC and a 6.5 Creedmoor is you're basically going to be able to shoot bullets like 200 to 300% feet per second, not percent, feet per second faster, which is why you get the such great ballistics out of it. And you get a 9 on the effective range. I think you can get these supersonic out to about 1,800 yards, which is phenomenal. But it is somewhat expensive and it is kind of hard to find. You definitely can find it. The problem is you're going to be looking at about $3 a shot from what I could find, which is getting up there. And then 8 for barrel life. It is pretty good on the barrel life if you're shooting the really heavy bullets, scoring 37. So one less than 6.5 Creedmoor. In my opinion, if you reload, going with the 6, I could definitely see going with the 6.5 PRC over the 6.5 Creedmoor because you're going to get the better ballistics, you're going to get a little bit more power, a little more effective range. But if you don't reload, in my mind, it would be hard to justify paying an extra $1 a shot roughly for ammo. But anyway, like I said, it's up to you. 308, obviously probably one of the most popular, although not one of the best for sure. 6 for ballistics, 6 for energy, 7 for effective range. The 308 it doesn't have as bad a ballistics or effective range as people think. Like a lot of people, they make it seem like the 308 is like terrible when it comes. It is worse. It is definitely worse. But if you look at the effective range of a 308, you can get it. You can get it supersonic out to 1,500 yards. It's not going to be overly flat shooting, but you can definitely get it out of ways if you're using some of the higher end ammo. The 308 really shines when it comes to ammo cost slash availability and barrel life. That is the one thing that if you're going to shoot a ton, there's definitely an argument to be made to shoot 308, right? Because there's you're never going to have issues finding ammo. If you do, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble. And the barrel life is phenomenal because it has lower velocity. It's really going to shine there as well. So it scores 38. Now, does that mean that because the scores are comparable to it in 6.5 Creedmoor? No. Again, because the reason that the 308 scored higher is because a little bit better on availability and barrel life. Next, 300 Win Mag. 9 for ballistics, 8 for energy, 9 for effective range, 6 for ammo cost slash availability. You will have no trouble finding 300 Win Mag ammo. The problem is that most of it's going to be hunting ammo, like just general hunting ammo, which isn't really all that good for long range and or target shooting. I mean, it's good for hunting, but it's not going to be good for that. So that's why it scored a little lower on that. 7 for barrel life. Again, if you're shooting the heavy ammo, you're going to be all right. But if you're shooting like standard 150 to 180, especially the lighter stuff, you're definitely going to shorten that up a bit. It scored 39. 300 Win Mag is definitely a really good caliber. I think it should be talked about more for being in the conversation for best long range shooting caliber, because it has, if you're using those match bullets or if you're reloading, I mean, the difference between 308 and 300 PRC or 300 Norma, you really are splitting hairs. Difference being 300 Win Mag is going to be easier to find ammo for, and if you want to hunt with it, you can do that. If you want to just buy some cheap hunting ammo and just plink at the range, you can do that as well. So basically going to the next one, 300 PRC, 10 for ballistics, 9 for energy, 10 for effective range, 2 for ammo cost slash availability, and 7 for barrel life. And the 300 normal is the same. Um, if you're not reloading, it's going to be pretty much impossible to go with the 300 PRC or the 300 Norma in Canada. From doing my research, it's really hard to find ammo for these two calibers, especially 300 Norma. Like I looked up factory 300 Norma ammo, I couldn't find anything in Canada. There probably is some somewhere, but I couldn't find anything. 300 PRC, there was like maybe one or two kinds, but you can definitely find cases. I looked that up for the reloaders, and you can definitely find cases. So if you reload, you could definitely make a go of it. But if you don't reload, you're going to want to go with this 300 Win Mag if you wanted to go with something more powerful, or one of these next two, the 7mm Magnum, 10 for ballistics. Again, the 7mm Magnum is really good when it comes to ballistics, especially inside like 1,000 to maybe upwards of 1,200-1,300 yards. People don't realize it is very, very flat shooting with the higher end match ammo. Um, energy 7, effective range 9. Another thing that people don't realize is that if you're using these match bullets, especially if you're reloading, you can get a 7mm Magnum supersonic out to 1,800 yards, roughly 17, 1,800. If you're reloading, you could probably push 2,000. So people don't realize just how far out there you can get the 7mm Magnum if you really want to. Ammo cost slash availability, it's pretty much the same as the 300 Win Mag 6. Same goes for barrel life. Scores of 39. I think that's pretty much the same as the 300 Win Mag. The last caliber, 338 Lapua, 9 for ballistics, 10 for energy, 10 for effective range, 3 for ammo cost slash availability. In Canada, in my experience and in doing some research on this, it's not hard to find 338 Lapua ammo. It's actually fairly easy. The problem is that you're going to pay an arm and a leg for it, right? Every time I go to Cabela's, I always see at least one or two, maybe three brands of, or three different kinds of 338 Lapua ammo. If I look online, again, fairly easy to find. The problem is you're going to be paying a ton of money for it. So if you don't reload and you're not rich, you ain't going to be buying a 338 Lapua. Barrel life, it is very good as well, scoring a 9, especially some of the real heavy 338 Lapua ammo. The barrel, you could even make the argument it's a 10, depending on just how fast you're pushing it. Scoring a 41. So the thing that you'll quickly notice is that the higher you go in caliber, the higher the scores tend to go. And that's for the simple reason that the ballistics, the energy, and the effective range skew towards the heavier bullets. So the point here is very simple. Am I saying that everybody should go with a 338 Lapua or a 300 Win Mag? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Because for most people, they can't afford to be paying $5, $6, $7 a shot for a 338 Lapua. For most people, that's not realistic. So like I brought up before, if you don't reload, which is most people, 6.5 Creedmoor is probably going to be the best choice. Um, if you're not looking for maximizing precision to as much as humanly possible, the 308 is definitely still viable. It should definitely still be talked about because the ammo is so easy to find and it's still fairly cheap. Um, 6 millimeter Creedmoor, if you can find that, I think it's very good as well. If you're looking for a gun that doesn't have a ton of recoil, that would be a good choice. Um, if you're going to go with the bigger calibers, I would probably go with the 300 Win Mag because if you reload, you can get it almost very, very, very comparable to the 300 PRC or the 300 Norma, while still being able to easierly, that's not a word, but be able to easier find ammo easier um, and still be able to have those high end, have a lot of energy, have the high end ballistics, all that stuff. 7 millimeter Magnum as well. That's a very underrated caliber, I believe, as well, because the ballistics are so good. The effective range is better than what people think, and it's still relatively easy to find ammo. The problem with the 300 Win Mag and the 7 millimeter Magnum is that finding match ammo can be a challenge, at least in Canada. I think in the States it's definitely a little bit easier, at least maybe not right now with the whole ammo shortage thing going on. But the point here, it would be very simple. For every person, the caliber that you want to go with is going to be different. If you have an unlimited budget, by all means, get a 338 Lapua, get a 300 PRC, right? Because paying $5-6 a shot, that doesn't matter to you. But for most people, that's not going to be the case. So for most people, you're going to want to go with something that is easy to find ammo and you're not going to pay a ton of money for it, which basically leaves you with 6.5 Creedmoor, 308 is definitely an option. Even 223 for people that don't want to shoot super far. Like if you only want to shoot out to 500 or 600 yards, or maybe your range only goes to 500 yards. I know there's a ton of people that are in that predicament. There's no need, especially if you don't want to spend a lot of money to buy one of these really, because who cares if your gun can if you can shoot out to 1,500 yards if you're never going to get a chance to shoot out to 1,500 yards. Why not save a ton of money on ammo and buy something like a 223? I'm not saying that's what I would do necessarily, but there would be an argument for that, right? And there's the thing too when it comes to the 223 is that you should be able to shoot a 223 every bit as accurate as any of these other calibers out to 500, maybe even 600 yards, assuming you have a comparable setup, right? If it's some piece of garbage AR, then yeah, it's not going to be the case. But if you have a nice Remington 700 bolt action gun or even a custom gun, whatever you're shooting, you should be able to shoot a 223 every bit as accurate as anything else on this list, out to 5, maybe 600 yards. And like I said, is that if your range only goes out that far, well, that may be a good choice for you, right? Maybe you have a hunting rifle that is, also, in 308 and you want to be able to shoot similar ammo. Maybe you reload and you want to be able to shoot similar ammo. Go with the 308. Maybe you have the same predicament but 300 Win Mag or 7 millimeter Magnum, right? That would be another good option as well. So I'm simply trying to, show um, a comparison to what different people are looking for. Because for some people, like I brought up, for some people, their goal is I want to shoot as accurately as humanly possible and I want to do it out to 1,500 yards or a mile. Okay, if you're one of those people, you're going to need to go with 6.5 PRC or basically any of these other bottom five calibers, or 6.5 Creedmoor maybe as well. Um, if you're that person, like I say, that's completely different than the guy that's, just a, you know, not as isn't as serious about this stuff, but maybe wants to shoot out to 500-600 yards. And another good point too is that if you're new and you're just getting into this stuff and you're not 100% sure about it, but you're interested in it, Buying a 223, in my mind, you won't regret that decision because it's a gun you're going to be able to shoot for so cheap, and it's going to be so easy to find the ammo. And you can still practice and improve yourself every bit as much as anything else here, and you're going to be able to do it way cheaper. And the learning curve is going to be a lot easier because it's not a heavy recoiling caliber. There's next to no recoil. So if you have a friend or whoever that wants to get into it as well, maybe you buy a 223. Down the road, you buy I don't know, 300 Win Mag or a 338 Lapua, right? You start them off on the 223, and then you work them up, right? And same goes for yourself, right? So in my mind, depending on who you are, there's also a argument to be made that you should own multiple guns, right? Because if you own multiple guns, well, it's going to be that much cheaper to shoot. If you have one in a 223, you can just mess around with, and then you have one that you actually are, if you compete, you can actually do your work with, right? And with all these custom chassis and all this stuff these days, you could buy the exact same setup. You could buy the exact same setup, one in 223, one in 6.5 PRC or 300 PRC, right? And have the exact same gun, but one you can shoot way cheaper. One, the recoil is a lot easier to deal with, all that stuff. So, like I say, at the end of the day, everybody's situation is going to be a little bit different, which is why when I see someone say, oh no, that caliber is horrible, why would you choose that? To me, that makes no sense. And those people really don't understand what they're talking about because they don't understand what they're talking about because how do you know the other person's situation? Because everybody has a little bit different situation. Like I say, some people, they don't care about how much ammo costs. For other people, that's the biggest thing they care about. For some people, they don't care about being able to shoot out to a mile. For other people, that's their bread and butter. That's all they care about. So for, like I say, for everyone, it's a little bit different. But basically, um, this is basically what you would want to look at for that because again, for all of these things, these are things that are important for people. Like I say, ballistics, that's important for some people. It's for others not that much. Energy, that's another thing that's going to be important for some people, other people not that much. Effective range, same. Ammo cost availability, same. Same goes. Barrel life, maybe not as much. But for reloaders and for the more hardcore people, that's probably going to be important as well. But like you see that the difference isn't that much. Like for barrel life, so that's the one I would be the least concerned about because it has the least differences between the two. So the big ones would be ammo cost slash availability. That would be what you need to ask yourself. Do you care how much money you spend on ammo? If the answer is yes, um, your choices are basically going to be limited to the first 6 calibers here, 2 through 7 on the list here. If that's not something you care about, price isn't an option. You can spend however much you want. The bottom 5 are going to be the ones you're going to want to go with probably. If you want to be able to shoot to a mile, well, some of these they're going to be out. Um, if you want a lot of power, if you want to be able to take down an elk at 1,000 yards, or maybe you want to be able to, still have a lot of power at 1,000 yards. Okay, well the basically everything 308 and down is going to be out, right, or not. If you don't care about power, then 6.5 Creedmoor, 6mm Creedmoor might be what you want to go with. If getting maximum, the most flat shooting round you can possibly find, okay, well then, you can make those decisions as well. So, like I say, basically, I wanted to go over a basic breakdown because these are the most important things to look for when it comes to long range shooting and selecting a caliber. The point here, I guess, would be very simple, and that I don't think a lot of people, especially new shooters, put enough thought into this kind of stuff. They kind of go willy nilly, not really knowing what they're doing. And the first gun they ever buy is a 338 Lapua, and they get tired of paying $7 a shot and having the own heavy recoiling gun, and then they stop shooting, right? So that's kind of what I'm trying to get at here, is that if you're an experienced shooter, you know enough that you really don't need to know, look into much this stuff that all that much, right? um, but if you're a new shooter, if you're a more inexperienced shooter, this is something you're really going to want to take into account, because again, if you're buying a $10,000 custom gun, or even like a $2,000-$3,000 more entry level gun, again, that's a lot of that's a lot of money either way. Um, you don't wanna waste that stuff, right? You really don't want to waste that. So you want to buy the best caliber you can possibly possibly think of, I guess, is for lack of a better way of putting it. So anyway, that's what I wanted to bring up today. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.